So, the stress cycle and women's health. Just about me, because I don't know how well you guys know me. I've studied herbal medicine for the last 2-ish years. And so now I'm officially a woman's herbal educator. I've also been certified as a health and life coach. We homeschool our 5 kids, and I'm a Christian, which you will notice coming through in how I talk. Today, I just want to go over with you what stress actually is, how and why it affects us, what you can do like right now to help. And if that's not enough for you, I've got some suggestions of extra help to take it further. Because stress is kind of a big deal. Like over half of women experience it, not quite as many guys, which is interesting. And it's not just in our heads. It also gives us headaches, muscle tension, sleep problems, anxiety, depression, and that's just kind of the most common reactions we have. According to the dictionary, stress is like any sort of pressure or tension that we experience. And the thing is, it's not all bad. Like if you're going, say, to the gym for a workout, that's putting stress on your body. And that's actually a really good thing because it makes you stronger. The problem really comes in when we don't complete the stress cycle. And just in a real short nutshell, our nervous system has like 2 sides to it, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is, you've probably heard the fight or flight side of it. The less known reactions are also freeze and fawn. Parasympathetic is where our bodies can rest, heal, digest our food, and we can actually enjoy life. Now, the thing with our nervous system, we can only really be in one side at a time. It's kind of like a toggle switch. So if you're in sympathetic and stressed out, your body can't do the healing and digest the food, get the nutrients that it needs. So this is kind of the classic stress example. Bunch of wild animals out eating grass nicely, and all of a sudden the lion shows up. Now, the cool thing about these wild animals is once the threat is over for them, their bodies cycle right back to relaxed and they go back to eating grass like nothing happened. Most of us don't do that, and that's where we have our problem. Because the stress response, adrenaline and cortisol are kind of the 2 main hormones that drive it. Adrenaline is the first one your brain pumps out, and it's pretty much instant. Like you're going to notice right away your heart's pounding, your eyes kind of dilate a bit more, and you feel this huge burst of energy. Then we get the ACTH and CRH, which are like the signals to our body of this is still a problem, keep going, or we're good to go. So if they say it's still a problem, that's when you start shipping out cortisol, which kind of keeps your body primed for reacting. Now, the thing with cortisol, it increases how much sugar is freely available in your bloodstream, which is really good for that instant energy you need. You know, if you're one of those animals running away from the lion, you need a lot of fuel. If that keeps going, though, it's kind of like syrup running through precision machinery. It's really highly inflammatory. It does actually help to make tissue repair more easily available when we've got the higher cortisol levels. But again, that'll kind of go too far and it ends up backfiring on us. Cortisol also changes how your immune system responds to things. So you're more likely to get sick when you have high cortisol levels because your body is sending resources to all the other stuff that need to happen right now to keep you alive. It's going to suppress your digestive system. Because think back to those animals running away. You don't want to be stopping to poop while that lion's chasing you. That's also why your fertility will go down. Because we don't want to be getting pregnant, having a baby, or even changing a tampon while running away. Can't happen. So you could even get like missed periods, delayed periods, or really unusual periods with a lot of stress. Now, this doesn't really apply to us as moms, but high cortisol will slow your growth. It applies more to our cute little ones who we take care of. And the final thing I want to point out about high cortisol is it actually causes any fat that we've got circulating around to be stored deep in our abdomen so that when the emergency is over, we still have food. Because you can't, deal with a big emergency and then crash because you have no food left. That would sort of defeat the whole purpose of surviving. Now, as moms, I'm going to guess you've never been chased by a lion. You probably deal more with these kind of stresses. Noisy kids, messy house, all the appointments that you got to keep going. So you're the taxi. Then the kids fight. So you're also like a hostage negotiator. You get hangry, your kids get hangry. Anyone's health concerns are your health concerns, not just your own. Our phones are like beeping and binging all day long. And if you really pay attention when your phone goes, you'll notice that burst of adrenaline, that like the same thing happens if our kid wakes us up in the middle of the night. Our brain doesn't know if it's a major problem or if they just fell out of bed and are cold and want you to come help them. Finances are a big stress for a lot of people, and our hormone cycles. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with your hormone cycles, but a lot of people don't really know how their bodies work. And if you don't actually know how it works, you're not going to know if it's working well or if you need to work on fixing it or even what you can do to try and help it. So, just really simplified, the first part of your monthly cycle starts on day one of a full bleed when your period starts. That's the follicular phase. A lot of women feel kind of more motivated, outgoing, confident, and social during the follicular phase. Probably not so much the first few days, but more as like your estrogen starts going up to prepare for ovulation here. The reason for feeling better in this time, it could either just be that's like your normal baseline in comparison to who you are later in your luteal phase when the hormone crash makes life harder. Or it could also be because estrogen actually helps to modulate the effects of adrenaline and cortisol. So your body's not actually going to feel stress quite as much right in here. Then at ovulation, estrogen actually makes our insulin more effective, which helps increase our circulating testosterone levels. Now, typically, women will feel more increased sex drive right around ovulation. And it's also the time you're more likely to go shopping for some new clothes or some new makeup, because consciously or not, you're trying to make yourself more attractive in that time. And another cool thing, right around ovulation, we are typically less sensitive to pain. Then we've got kind of this estrogen crash and the corpus luteum, which is where the egg was released from on your ovary, starts making progesterone. And that helps your body prepare for pregnancy, if it would happen, which is when the whole uterine lining is building up. A lot of women, especially later into the luteal phase, start feeling more withdrawn, moody, introspective, even irritable. And that's partly because progesterone actually helps our body make more cortisol. So if you're already stressed out, you're going to be completely overloaded here when your progesterone starts going high. And that's going to give you a pretty uncomfortable crash as these hormones drop down just before the next cycle starts over again. And that's why a lot of us feel cravings, because our body is trying to make more dopamine to help us be happier. Now, the other thing about stress here is you're going to be feeling more cramps, more night sweats, more sleep problems, more mood swings, and it could even give you late or skipped periods. Now, we think back to the lion attack. This right here is the stress cycle. So we start off with the trigger. In that situation, it's the lion, whatever it is. Your body recognizes it before you're even aware there's a problem. And it also quickly analyzes what it needs to do. which is why there've been times where people manage to jump out of the way of an out of control speeding car and they don't even know it was there. Your brain is that fast because the physiologic response is also almost instant. So like these three happen split second. The most important part for us to stay healthy, though, after the stress is over, is the reset. And that's when your body just realizes, okay, the stress is over. I can relax and go back to regular life. Since we've got a lot of chronic stress going, our brains don't reset all that often. So we sometimes, or most of the time, are going to have to help it. So the first suggestion I have for you is diaphragmatic breathing. And I'm going to invite you to try it with me right now. We're going to start by taking a nice deep breath. And as you breathe in, let your belly totally expand. Now, as little girls, we probably stopped doing this because we didn't want to look fat. We don't want our bellies to blow up every time we breathe. But it really helps your diaphragm move the way it's supposed to. So we're going to take a big breath in, let our belly get big. When that feels full, then you're going to breathe almost a second breath right away up into your chest. And then slowly just let it all out. And we'll do that again. Big breath, feel your belly get big and soft and full. Then up higher in your chest and relax it out. And we'll do one more. Big, deep belly breath. High in your chest, a second breath in. And relax it all out. Now that was just 3 breath cycles. I'm willing to bet you feel more relaxed now already. It's because your vagus nerve, which I'm not going to go into because that's way too complicated for today, is a big part of resetting your nervous system and getting you back into parasympathetic. And breathing is the fastest, most effective way you can control that. Now, the cool thing about this breathing, you can do it anywhere, everywhere, and no one even knows. So if you're stuck in traffic, if you're at a doctor's appointment and you're getting news you don't like, if you're trying hard to make dinner and you've got kids pulling on your legs and another one yelling at you, just give your brain those few deep breaths and it'll really help. Now, this one here is going to be real obvious if you're trying it. If you move and shake your body, that helps to really use up that last little bit of cortisol and adrenaline that's still floating around. I mean, the most fun is turn some good music on and have yourself a dance party. But if you can't do that for whatever reason, just literally like shaking your body will also do the same thing. And if we think back to those wild animals, they will sometimes do that. You might even see like your pets, if they get really scared, they'll shake for a while and then they go back to normal life. And the third one I want to tell you here today is laughing or crying. A lot of times we're so busy, we stuff our emotions. But our emotions are really important. And if we don't give ourselves the time to feel them, they actually will go into your body and start creating problems. Now, it's harder because you don't want to just be crying all the time everywhere. And not everything is worth crying about, maybe. But give yourself that grace to have a good cry when you need it. Or turn on some funny little TikTok videos or something and have a good laugh. You know what you need in whatever situation you are, but just do it as often as you can. So if those 3 aren't quite enough for you, I've got some other suggestions that are kind of what I would call next level, but I highly recommend you put those 3 as part of what you do every day. So nervines are kind of a section of herbs that really affect your nervous system. The one I'm going to tell you today, you've probably heard about it already, is chamomile. Now, chamomile tea is like the classic sleepy time relaxing tea. It's also a slightly bitter flavored herb, so it'll help your digestion. So if you remember back, stress kind of slows digestion down. Chamomile tea will actually help get your digestion going again, as well as soothe your nervous system at the same time. Plus, there's something really relaxing and calming about just holding a nice hot cup of tea, and you give yourself a little pause there. If you need something stronger than chamomile, kava kava is more commonly used as a tincture, and it's kind of like an emergency anxiety response med. So you would take it as you need it, whereas the chamomile tea you probably could take every day, not a problem. Kava is a much more potent herb, so you want to be more careful how you use it. It's definitely not recommended if you're pregnant or breastfeeding. And if you have any like liver or kidney challenges, kava is probably not the herb for you. The adaptogens are a really cool classification of herbs that really help our bodies respond to stress, and it nourishes them so they can handle stress more. It makes you more resilient. Now, they do not replace eliminating stress as much as possible or like actually using your body physically moving to help with the stress. But my favorite adaptogen, especially for moms with like a lot of chronic stress and busyness going on, is ashwagandha. Now, most adaptogens, if you're going to pick one, they take about 6 weeks before you really start noticing that they're doing anything for you. Ashwagandha is a little bit unique in that it also helps you sleep better, and you'll notice that pretty much right away. So you feel like you're actually getting something right away for your investment in your herbs. Um, it has a questionable possibility of increasing miscarriage. So while it's traditionally been used for years and years, they kind of recommend not to use it in pregnancy. Now, pretty much all herbs are not recommended in pregnancy because it's really not ethical to study them in a proper medical study. I mean, which mom is going to volunteer to like, oh yeah, let's see if my baby gets destroyed by this herb? Doesn't happen. So mostly don't use them unless you're really working with a qualified herbalist. Um, Also, ashwagandha, because of its sleepiness possibility, like its Latin name is Withania somnifera. Like somniferous is kind of the Latin for sleepy. I think it's Latin. Yeah. So there is a chance it can actually make your newborn sleepy too if you take it while breastfeeding. So just be aware of that. Now, other really good options would be like massage, acupuncture, chiro. Because again, they're really helping you move your body and work that adrenaline and cortisol through. If you're going to go to a chiro, I'd recommend you find one who's familiar with sympathetic dominance, because there are some who actually specialize in helping. If your brain is kind of stuck in the stressed out mode, they can do specific adjustments to help you get out of that. And I mean, for some of us, stress just gives us too much anxiety or depression. You need to talk to your doctor and get the more serious help. I don't want you taking anything I said to be like, oh, I don't need to deal with it. No, stress is a big deal, and you get all the help you can. As moms, I think we really often spend so much time helping everyone around us. We like pour out our hearts to our kids, maybe to our husbands, maybe not as much, depending on how your relationship's going at the time. But we almost, it's like we forget to actually take care of ourselves. Or maybe subconsciously we're waiting for someone to give us permission to do it. So this is me telling you, take care of yourself.